Intellectually engaging to think outside the lines with conversation about the nation that never leaves you blind. Take a listen and pay attention. Here is where you find the educational, sensational meeting of the minds. Yeah, it's the meeting of the minds. Meeting of the minds.
Welcome back to Meeting of the Minds. Before I tell you what today's topic is, I'm going to give you a little bit of a backdrop story. So I am the board president for a nonprofit called Measure, and Measure uses data to invoke social justice. It's not just like saying, heck no, we won't go, but they use actual numbers to bring social justice. Well, we are working on something called the Innocence Initiative, and I am the public awareness campaign head chair, and all of a sudden it dawned on me, okay, public awareness, I have a show. So I was like, okay, let's bring the people working on the initiative to the show. So let me tell you what the Innocence Initiative is. According to a Georgetown Law study, which is Georgetown Law Center did the study, right? Little black girls are seen as needing less nurture by adults. They're seen as needing less care. They are disciplined more than their counterparts and their peers. And so we are working on this initiative. And you have some people that are on the public awareness campaign, and then there are people that are working on creating policy in the schools to change this. So with me today to discuss this topic is Sherelle. And Sherelle McMillan is, you have your birth last name, right? Are you going to mention that?
No.
No. Okay. And that's what I know her about.
Just say McMillan, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I know her by. So if you saw me buckle on it a little bit, I wanted to say that. But she's going by McMillan now. McMillan. So yeah. I always want to revert to the other one. But so Sherelle McMillan is with us today. And go ahead and tell everyone what your position is at Measure.
So at Measure, I'm currently the director of administration within Measure. So a lot of the operation pieces, I help out with that. We're creating learning management system for volunteers to bring them in and make sure that they fit into an area within Measure that they can personally improve themselves and also improve Measure.
Awesome. And she does such a great job at that. Alicia, you work a lot on the projects at Measure. And it's Alicia Jackson. Yes. I apologize. And what are you working on right now for Measure?
I am part of the campaign, the awareness campaign with you, and we are working on this global grand idea to bring awareness not only to schools and institutions, but to the public as well and community.
Okay. And Ms. Janice, book out.
Yes.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And what are you doing with Measure?
So I'm the Director of Performance Measurement, which means I do the grant reporting, and then also I work on with Mimi on designing our approach to metrics and making sure that the impact we're having in the community is supported by the actions that we're taking, because it's really about the long-term impact in the community and beyond that we really want to accomplish. But what we're doing right now needs to support that. So that's what I'm working on.
Doing very great work, all of you ladies. So thank you so much for the work that you bring to the table. It's very impactful, and I honestly believe that this work to end adultification bias towards young little black girls is going to make a difference. I believe this is history. I honestly do. And so working with youth, I know so much about this. I've seen so much about this, but I'd like to hear from you two first about the adultification of little black girls. Can you tell me some of the experiences or what you've seen or how you think adultification happens to youth? Share a little bit.
I think adultification stems off from early childhood. It begins in the home, and then it also carries on into school and throughout high school. And a lot of times a lot of people don't know that they're adultifying youth, and they're saying things that might potentially affect them in the future, to the way that they see themselves, the way they identify themselves. So we're trying to build awareness on that so that we can kind of look at ourselves and say, am I adultifying my child? Am I maybe looking at her and telling her, maybe, are you fast? Why are you dressing like that? Or so we have to, it starts in the home, but it also perpetuates further into the systems, schools, and maybe reprimanding a young lady because maybe her uniform fits her differently.
Wow.
So they might be reprimanded for that, and that's adultification as well.
Yeah. So you're saying that adultification happens not only in the institutions, but also at home as well.
Yes.
Wow, wow. Would you like to share any incidents or examples?
Well, I don't have any examples for myself, and I don't want to tell anybody else's story.
Please.
So I will build off of what Sherelle just said, and I
Please.
do believe that since it does start so early in the home, that our young girls get accustomed to it and think it's normal. So they don't know when to call it out and when to say, hey, this is not right, from, like Cheryl says, saying that you're fast or getting catcalled in the streets, like walking to school. All of this becomes routine and an expectation. And I love the fact that we're doing this work so that we can change that normal and change their expectations of themselves so that they can have something to stand on to force other people to change as well.
Okay.
So I want to give the girls more power to tell their own story in their own voice.
Have you experienced adultification in your own lives? I mean, does something come to your remembrance like, yes, this is a moment of adultification, or maybe even a family member? I know that, go ahead.
Yeah, I feel like I have. At a young age, I was very developed. At 6th grade, you know, I was a very developed young lady. And I feel like there was a lot of expectations, higher expectations for me, just because my body might have looked a certain way. There was, I was introduced to, you know, things that I may not have, but that people that may not be as developed or as, you know, I was introduced to like, to
Concepts.
yeah, hypersexualization concepts and things like that, you know, before I feel like was ready for my age, and also with a lot of over criminalizing in schools. You know, a lot of times, if you're looking a little bit older, or you're expected to be kind of a leader over certain areas, then you would be looked at more for if you're doing something that maybe a normal 12-year-old would do.
Yeah.
But because you look like you might be 15 or 16, they're like, why are you doing that? And you're reprimanded for that before anybody else. So
That's right. We heard a lot of that in the meetings. So in the meetings, you have a lot of people telling their stories. And we heard a lot about that, about how one of our leaders at Measure told a story about how she was wearing an outfit that most kids were wearing at school, like it was a very popular article of clothing. And as she wore the same exact outfit, the same exact article of clothing, and the principal stopped her in the hallways and was like, you know, this is inappropriate. You need to go home right now. You need to change. And so the leader that was sharing that with us at Measure, she's not here to say it, so I'm just giving you an example, was so hurt by that, extremely hurt, because she knew that other white girls were wearing the same exact outfit, but they weren't being seen that way. And then the principal called her out on it. And so there was a lot of stories told about how young girls, young black girls, are seen differently because of their body type and structure. So that was something that was told a lot.
Something actually happened yesterday with me and my family. My two nieces, one's 12 and one's 9, they found TikTok and they were making videos. And so I asked my mom to send me some, and she did, and they were dancing. I was like, all right. And so I went to my niece's, the 12-year-old, her TikTok, and I was looking through them, and the video she sent me wasn't on TikTok. And I was like, hey, where's this one at? She's like, well, my mom wouldn't let me post it because she said it showed too much stomach. And I was like, yes. And it was just like, since I'm a cognizant now through this work, my family is cognizant. And I think that that's how it should go. And I hope and I pray that this initiative helps other families deal with the social media aspect of all of this, because you're not always in the streets, you're not always in school, but you can control what they post online as well.
Yeah. And I know also in the meetings that got thrown around a lot was that why are you being so fast? And do you think that that's different to the white counterparts, white peers? Do you think more black girls are told that than little white girls? Because I've never heard that saying in the white community, but I have heard it before.
Going from, so I'm originally from Oceanside, California, and at my school, the girls would wear bathing suits to school, sometimes under their clothes or really small shorts, and it was a mix of different races.
Yeah.
But I know it was something that the white girls could get away with, but the black girls wouldn't dare try to get away with trying to wear maybe a bathing suit top, and because and I feel like it might have been stemmed from being adultified, and you can't wear what they wear.
Yeah.
You know.
That's so interesting. So I want to throw several other examples of adultification because I want us to be able to get how Measure is using the care model and so forth, so that we can bring awareness to what is going on and bring the change to what is happening as well. So a couple other examples of adultification was even a parent maybe asking the child to do way much more responsibility than might be required of their age group. That was brought up as well. Like, come on, get up, I need you to watch these kids. You know, that was mentioned several times. But then moving away from that, the one that was really the most impactful, the one that I think we're targeting the most, was in schools. In schools, you can have, and this is based off of what has the stories that are being told, because we're, keeping track of these accounts, and these personal testimonies. And one thing that we heard a lot was that one action that would receive the penalty for one demographic would receive criminalization for another demographic. And that was huge. And even down to elementary school, that if you have, for example, just to create an image in your head, you have a little white boy playing with blocks and he does something and the teacher nurtures him and redirects him as to where, according to the study, the little black girl needs less nurture, less care, and has an expectation to know better, right? So these are the testimonies that we are getting. Anyone want to jump in on? Go ahead.
Sure, I will.
Please.
I was a teacher for 5 years. I worked as a third grade teacher in a elementary classroom, and the population of our school was very diverse, and I saw it all the time. One thing I just wanted to clarify when we're talking about adultification, the focus of the Georgetown study that this is based on, and also the focus of our project, is on adultification bias.
Right.
And the reason why we clarify bias is because it puts the focus on the person doing the injustice.
Adultifying. Wow. Okay.
Right. And so, looking back, I mean, my whole life I've been committed to equity, but the aspects of it weren't always fully distinguished for me, and so that's work I've done over time. When I was teaching, I don't know that I had all of those capacities that I have now and the tools that I have now to identify it in myself and be able to deal with it effectively. And I really don't, honestly, I wonder what it was really like having me as a teacher. But I do remember, like in the, the makeup of the teachers that were there at the school, they were almost entirely white women.
Yeah.
With a diverse population, well-meaning white women. And over time, I've really discovered just how dangerous that can be, especially the well-meaning part. Because if you're well-meaning and you see yourself as doing the best work and the good work, and you're also carrying all of this bias with you, then you're going to do damage and you're not going to see it, and then when people call you on it, are you going to respond appropriately? And I remember this one girl, Sierra, was extraordinary. She was taller than the other kids. She's black. And she was the one who would call me out when I did something that didn't work as a teacher. She would always kind of call me out on it. And fortunately, over time, I grew to really count on her for that. Like, But I also know that she was at times getting in trouble with some of the other adults, you know, and honestly, she was right every time.
Wow.
So it wasn't like, you know, I remember this one time where I was being real irritable, and we'd come back after Christmas break, and I was being irritable with the class, and I sat him down, I said, what is going on? You guys are really like pulling stuff. And she said, you know, Ms. Bookout, do you really want to know? I was like, sure. And she said, it's kind of funny when you get mad, and we pick on you for that. And I was like, wow. I was like, thank you so much for being honest. But she meant it. The way where she was coming from was honestly in support of me. Mm-hmm. But I know it would have, you know, it would have been really easy to not see it that way, and to assume that that's not where she was coming from. And because she was taller and she looked older, and I mean, I can see that looking back, how that could have informed the situation. And the gossip in the you know, teachers gossip about their students in the break room.
Yes.
And the gossip that thrown around about different students and how they're difficult and all that kind of thing. You know, I wish that I could go back and see with a camera now and be able to pick it apart and observe it and get data from it, you know.
I have definitely worked within the schools for many, many years, and firsthand I've seen this demonstrated. And I want to say something that it's not, I have to always differentiate. There's the board president for Measure, and then there's C'est La Vie, who says outlandish things. The things I'm about to say is not a reflection of the view of Measures, but the wild things that C'est La Vie says. I honestly don't think that there should be police presence on school grounds. Like, it blows my mind that, I mean, we're seeing this all over social media frequently, right? A little kid stole some milk and is being pummeled by a police officer, right? I cannot understand how we are using law enforcement to show disciplinary action to an adolescent. Like, I really do not think there should be any police presence on campus. And if there is police presence on campus, it is for the adults. Let me clarify. I know there's people who do not agree with this because you all think, I mean, well, kids can do criminal activity as well. However, here's the thing is that when you have a child that is breaking the law, science backs up the fact that their brain is not fully developed. The frontal lobe is not developed. The peer consequences, to be able to understand consequences, impulsiveness, all kinds of things are not the same in the brain of a child. So it is completely different than the criminalization of an adult. An adult being disciplined should be criminalized. A child being disciplined shouldn't really have anything to do with criminalization. And I'm the type to go all the way to the extremes, like even murder, if you ask me. Because honestly, we had people doing juvenile life without parole up until recently. States are starting to change that. But you only give life without parole to a child. No. You only give life without parole to a person that you believe is unable to change. You can never say that about an adolescent.
Did you say juvenile life without parole?
Yeah, Texas just changed it to, not just, but it's been a few years.
I can't even believe that exists.
Oh yeah, tell Oklahoma about it. They're like not changing, and everybody around them is changing, and most of the work of the people, yeah.
I didn't know.
I did a lot of work in Oklahoma, and Oklahoma will not budge on it. Oklahoma, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. I'll probably make a clip of this. Oklahoma, everyone around you is changing their laws about juvenile life without parole, but you are still archaic in your ways and refuse to change. Now, I digress. So, we got into fights when we were kids. Right. They didn't charge us with a criminal record. And I have to say, I have seen white girls get in a fight and it be handled one way, and then black girls get in a fight and it be handled in a completely different way on school grounds.
Right. What I found very interesting is that, there was an incident also in the school with my son, which was very publicized.
That's right.
We went to the Round Rock ISD school district to try to get some justice on it. And so there was 3 boys involved in animal crackers, taking it from the teacher's lounge. And they were charged with theft for it, asked to go to to court. And what a lot of people don't know is when you go to the court, when you go to the court, it's like 80% African American.
Okay.
The second court date, you would see that the African American rate decreased a whole lot because they pleaded guilty. It's like they're in their mind, we're guilty. So they automatically are feeling like, okay, we need to plead guilty.
Wow,
but
sure.
a lot of the other children were pleading not guilty, which was very interesting to me.
That's very interesting.
Yes. And always the people of color were the criminals, and the people of not color were the victims, even if it was a mutual fight or mutual, they've always been seen as the victim there. So I thought that was very interesting going there. But so when the report was sent out, the police report, I asked to see the police report for the animal cracker incident. And it was very interesting to me that on the police report, so there was 3 boys involved. One boy was seen as a lookout. The other 2 boys went in to go, take a handful worth of animal crackers off of the teachers' lounge, which were free
Lord.
animal crackers that the teachers paid for and bought. And,
Wow.
although it was a wrong thing to do, it's not worthy of
Criminalization for the rest of your life.
or something that's going to be on your record till you're 18, and then you have to try to see if you can get it expunged.
Yeah.
At that point. So I looked at the police report, and the police report, there was 2 girls involved as well. They were seen as the witnesses. Now, at the very beginning, there was only one girl as the witness, and that was the white girl. But the black girl that was with her was not seen as a witness. She was seen as someone involved, and later on was added as the witness. So it's almost like the white girl had it to may have had it too, well, she was with me, so automatically they seen all the black boys and the black girl who was with the white girl, and the white girl was a witness from the beginning. So I thought that was very interesting looking at that police report.
So she was counted a witness.
Counted as a witness.
Good Lord.
And they didn't add the black girl till the end of the police report, after they had to justify themselves and say, oh, well, we were there, we just saw what happened. So then they added the black girl as a witness. But at the beginning of the report, she was in the report as part of, there was 4 black kids, yeah.
Well, we all know how Round Rock ISD is.
Right.
Was it Pflugerville or Round Rock?
Round Rock ISD.
Oh, we do know how Round Rock ISD.
Yeah, I saw that, and it was very interesting that they had, placed assault as, they had placed it as a theft when, I said, well, the teachers called, they didn't feel like that it was, that it was something, they were kind of embarrassed at the fact that they had charged it as a theft. And I was like, it was a terrible experience to have to go through, not only just to see all of the children of color that were getting over-criminalized, pushed out to from the prison to school to prison pipeline at such an early age over a handful of animal crackers.
Right.
It's like, okay, so if I accidentally take your pen, am I going to be charged with theft for that? There's limits, and there's limits to how we look at.
I mean,
children of
come
color.
on, like milk being stolen, animal crackers being stolen,
Right.
and we're equating this with criminalization. Like, young people are going to do what young people do, and they get ISS, they get suspended maybe, if even that. Like, really, I mean, I can't even tell you how many things we did that were crazy in high school, and I don't remember them. I speak differently, but I don't remember that type of thing being criminalized for. I saw a progression. Like, there was no cops in school at a certain point, and then they started being implementing. And at the tail end, that's when cops are really present on campuses, is what I'm trying to say. Alicia, I know you were going to say something, and Janice will come right to you. Go ahead.
They're also criminalizing our hair, which through dress code violations, and I think that's another way of adultifying our kids, because you're like, curly hair and straight hair looks different. And to me, when you have to press and add chemicals and add dyes and just to get this correct version of your hair, it's kind of taking away your innocence because you can't let it grow naturally the way it's supposed to, so you can't develop naturally. And there's already a study that says that relaxers and perms are more cancerous to black females and black women than they are to white women. So they're already making our girls feel like they have to conform and not be girls.
Wow.
So,
Janice, you were going to jump in and say
Yeah, I'm
something.
just completely like in that thought now. I'm
Yeah.
like, wow, that's really like, that's a really
hard.
good
It's
point. It is
terrible.
hard. Yeah, I think, I was just going to say on the subject of suspension, one of the statistics that the Girlhood Interrupted study presented was that black girls are 6 times more likely to be suspended
That's right.
than white girls, and it is, after a while, that goes on your permanent record, which then gets used in the court system, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it is really, that is part of the pipeline, and how do you, and then if you think about it, if you defend yourself or you stand up for yourself, and then you add adultification bias to that, then you're talking back,
Right.
That's very true.
right? So there's no winning. And I think there was another part of that study that identified that that black girls are more likely to be told to like be calm, be quiet, like be less vocal as well. So you take it away, and then you also take the voice away.
I had my friend is a teacher, and she told me, and I was talking to her about this to get the teacher perspective, and she said that one of her colleagues, I guess, said that she treated the black girls like this because she was insecure in who they were in their bodies. Like I guess this was in high school because we do develop, and so because she was basically jealous of this this girl in 10th grade, she adultified, took her bias and pushed it on her because she was like, oh well, you have something that I'll never have, so I'm going to punish you for it.
Wow. So there's this play called Notes from the Field, and basically this play, you get to see these people that are going from school to prison pipeline, right? And you get to hear their backstories and how they started off in schools and how the principal treated them and how the teachers treated them and their experience from the school to prison pipeline. And I got the opportunity and honor to lead the groups after, there's a break, intermission, and we lead the groups and talk with the people that are viewing the play. And it really saddened me a lot that everyone was white, mostly. I mean, there was little pockets of POC, but for the most part, it was all white people attending, mostly. But what was the most incredibly, I found just astounding was, I really felt like the play really affected a lot of administratives that had came to see. And a lot of these people were like retired administratives. So you had like an old principal or somebody that was a teacher. And when we would talk in the groups, they were so moved by this that they were trying to reason their behavior back then. Like you literally try to, because you could see them having a battle within themselves, because at the time they thought that what they were doing is right. Like there's parts of the play where you have the campus police officer and what he did. And so there was an officer that happened to be an officer in police, and he's sitting, you can watch him battle it in his mind, because at the time they think that they're doing the right thing. But when they see the other version of how it played out and how it was processed, they're sitting there, you can see them defensive, but I have compassion because I'm such a empath that I can feel the hurt of why they're trying to defend themselves. Like, to the onlooker, they're trying to defend their actions, but I could see that it was hurting them, and they were realizing that some of the things that they did was biased and was wrong. So that's what we hope to do with this initiative, right?
Yeah.
Little girls might not even know that there is a difference, that there is something wrong with saying, pull down that skirt, you're acting too fast at the same time, and how you might internalize that. So making girls aware themselves. Maybe they're not aware. We talked about giving verbiage at the meetings, right? Giving verbiage on how a young lady can speak up for herself. How can her parents defend herself? Like you said, that there were so many kids that were just playing guilty from the onset. And sometimes parents don't even know, is there a map that we go about on how to do this?
I think a lot of parents were, especially parents of color, were afraid. They were afraid of what society would look at them as if they stood up for their child and they spoke up against it. I had tried to, engage the other parents involved, and it was a fear there, fear of what the work would say if it's public, if that they're defending their child. So I think with building this awareness, we also need to empower parents and empower youth as well to be able to speak up for themselves and to not have to feel like they are afraid to do it, and that if something unjust is happening, then we need someone to defend us, because otherwise no one else will. So
that's right. Powerful work going forth on educating. And then so we talked about the girls becoming aware of themselves. We talked about giving parents a weapon basically to defend themselves, and then also making teachers, administrators, police officers aware of the difference in behavior. Sometimes you're like, I do see. So for example, this information can maybe make a police officer that's on campus, which I don't think should be the case in the first place, that it might make them say, if a white kid would have gone into the room to grab some animal crackers, I would have been like, Tommy, get back to class. But when Jamal did it, I didn't feel that way, I wasn't aware that I was acting that way, but maybe I was acting that way. Because sometimes, I'm telling you, sometimes they're not even aware that, holy smokes, I do treat little Kenny different than I treat, the other kids. And so that's a huge awareness in itself. And then also making things aware makes it taboo. So now you got other teachers, hey, didn't you let Chris off for that, and now you have a problem, here. So makes it very, very taboo. So that's, please go ahead.
Yeah, I think that goes to what Janice was saying about you gossiping about your students, which you shouldn't do. But like if you're in the teacher's lounge and you overhear something and, we go through this initiative and you're aware, other teachers can call out other teachers. And I think that'll be a great tool that we can utilize.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because that same year, circling back, first of all, to CR, because I realized I painted a slightly incomplete picture. So what she was calling out when she said that was my behavior. So I was reacting a lot in class.
Yeah.
So they were behaving however they did, which is expected when they come back from the holidays. That's kind of, teachers know that happens, where their behavior changes a bit. And instead of enforcing consequences, I was reacting with my behavior, like I would, get loud or be angry or whatever.
Call it frazzled.
Yeah, it was frazzled. I was
frazzled.
frazzled. Yeah, and so that's what she was saying that was funny. And she said, and I said, okay, so my job is to actually enforce natural consequences. What do you guys think that should be? And they came up with much stricter consequences than I ever would have. Yeah, which I didn't. I backed them down from that. But there was a partnership created. They didn't. Anyway, that was really cool, and she led the way through that whole conversation. I just wanted to complete that. That same year, I was in this program, and we had taken on a year-long commitment not to gossip at all, anywhere in our lives. And so I had a problem because the teachers in my group, in my third grade group, gossiped all the time especially about students, other teachers too. And it looked more like, well, this student, needs to do this kind of work, or this, you got to watch out for this one. And stuff that you might not think was gossip. Anyway, I made a request of the teachers that we not gossip, because I said I can't participate in our meetings if we're going to do that, because I made this commitment. And they all agreed, and we decided that we would make it our goal we had the bad class coming up into our group that year, and we made it our goal to bust their reputation as a class and then turn them, by not gossiping and not tolerating gossip. And we did. By the end of the year, nobody ever talked about them that way, that whole class. And so the accountability, when you have, I think it's everything. I think it's everything. When you have the open conversation and you're willing to listen to somebody hold you to account, it makes a world of, it's such a gift. It's like rehumanizes you.
Yeah. I love, Janice, I want to say, I love that you're able to take any kind of criticism, even from your students. That takes humility. Like, a lot of adults cannot handle, getting feedback from their students. So I'd like to commend you on that a lot. And also the gossiping thing, let that be a lesson to everyone. Because honestly, you can alter somebody's perception of someone else based off of your opinion, and they never would have saw them that way. Wow. And you can affect how they see them and their perception tremendously. Let them build their own relationship. Let them, form that. That happens. That is a real thing. So thank you for bringing that up. We are coming to a close on this segment, and I just want to go around and see if there's any last words. I know if you're watching, there's plenty of opportunity to get involved with the Innocence Initiative. On your screen right here, and if you're listening, you're welcome to look this up if you like as well. You're going to see a design that we made for some t-shirts. And this is like the logo going on for the Innocence Initiative. And do you know the artist of that? It's a young man named
Lucky.
Oh man, he is such a great person with such a great personality. So you might be looking at the work if we were able to get a hold of the logo. So you might be looking at it right now. And if not, if you wanted to, you could go to this website if you wanted to and take a look at what we got going on with the Innocence Initiative. And that website is
www.measure.org.
Is it Measure
Or We Measure.
We Measure? That's it. Yeah.
We just changed it. That's why we
Yeah. We just expanded because we've been leaving Austin. We've been going to San Diego. A few of us got back from Australia, so we can't be Measure Austin anymore, especially when we're measuring all over now. So. Go ahead, please. We're about to go around.
Mention our director, Mimi Stiles.
Please.
I'm so grateful to be part of this team and all the work that she's done. It's just like I would just follow her anywhere. She's extraordinary, and
She's
her
an
work is.
extraordinary
And the team, the whole team is extraordinary. It's
It really is.
really satisfying work to be part of.
And just to also plug that in, shout out to Mimi Stiles. And honestly, if you wanted to go and check out the website, what you will see is some beautiful women of color. And when I mean beautiful, you got beautiful, educated, and powerful. You might want to go check out that website. That's all I'm saying. Don't stop, just help. But let's go ahead and go around. Any last thoughts of what you hope to see for the Innocence Initiative, or something you want to leave with anybody? Just last thoughts.
Well, I would just like to the last thoughts of the public awareness campaign. Everyone knows that this is a thing. Adultification is a thing. And that we need to check ourselves, check our school districts, check our systems, and making sure that we're putting a stop to this.
Very good, very good.
I just want to say that I'm also excited to get this material out there, and that there is people to help you, to listen to you. If you have issues, if you have concerns, don't think that you're alone. Like, nobody is alone.
Did you want to add one more thing?
Oh, I just that there's lots of ways to get involved. We're working with the Girl Scouts. We're working on a public campaign. We're working on, and for every one of those, there's a care team. There's a model to be a way to be involved.
Didn't even get to touch
Yeah,
on
there's
the
like
care
6
model.
different aspects of the initiative. There's a Girl Squad. I mean, it's just really exciting, all the different ways people can participate.
Maybe on another show, I'm going to show you guys the care model and how Measure is using the care model to approach these issues and these things. So we were supposed to introduce the care model, but we got carried away in all these different topics. So till next time, I will show you all the care model, and maybe we'll find a way to introduce you guys to the care model, believe that. So until then, thank you so much for watching or listening, whether you're on podcast right now listening to us on iTunes or Google Play, or if you're watching us on YouTube, or if you're watching us on Austin TV, or if you are watching us on social media. Thank you so much for listening to us and being with us. Until next time.
Intellectually engaging to think outside the lines with conversation about the nation that never leaves you blind. Take a listen and pay attention. Here is where you find the educational, sensational meeting of the minds. Yeah. It's the meeting of the minds.